see the suffering. The fire. The burns down your back. You see that it goes around circle purification. I have done prayer. For example, of a snowball. Snowball that is cleansing itself in its own way. When a snowball starts making, starts becoming cleaner, and the process of making is surely not a pleasant one. In fact, I have been at several points compelled to say that awakening begins with suffering. And if there is no suffering, only so called this present experiences, and really you are not being purified at all. The saints have all sung songs of intense longing, intense pain, an intense feeling of separation, feeling of being devastated, feeling of being burnt away, feeling that the house itself has come crashing down. Most of that literature, at least to the extent my knowledge allows, is in vernacular Indian languages. It is not in English, but I am still poor. If memory would serve the right ones right there. There is Kabir, who says, सुखिया सब संसार है. Anybody here who knows even little Hindi? What a little Hindi? सुखिया सब संसार है, खावे और सोए. The world is happy. It eats and sleeps. खावे, eats, सोए, sleeps. सुखिया सब संसार है, खावे और सोए. The world is happy and smiling. It eats and sleeps. दुखिया दास कबीर है, जागे और रोए. Only Kabir is suffering. Kabir wakes and weeps. The world eats and sleeps. And Kabir wakes and weeps. Now this is obviously contrary to our commonly held images of spirituality. We equate spirituality with joy and joy with happiness. So we expect the spiritual one to look happy all the time. Kabir is saying the world will look happy. The mind that is waking up would be in turmoil because his world is coming apart. There's another one in which he says, गिरही मोदी लाकड़ी सकुचे और धुआए छूट पड़े या जलन से जो सगरी जल जाए. The world is like damp wood, wet wood. What happens when you try to put damp wood to fire? It only billows. Lot of smoke and very little fire. He says that's the situation of the world. It preserves itself like the wet wood. It doesn't quite burn up. It doesn't really immediately go up in flames. It preserves itself. All you get is a lot of smoke. He says that a simple solution is to allow oneself to burn down totally, like dry wood. All this in-between state of desperation, frustration, burning, not burning, smoking, not smoking. All this is such a conflict. You're neither here nor there. Neither are you burning, nor are you not burning. Far better than this, Kabir advises, is to allow yourself to be eaten away totally by the flames. Burn down completely. There would be no fire, no smoke, nothing left to be consumed. This has to be understood. On one hand, the saints have sung joyful songs of union with the beloved, songs of peace, songs of great ecstasy, songs of love, songs of liberation and celebration. On the other hand, they have sung equally poignant songs in tears, in blood, in separation, in desperation, in longing, in waiting, songs of destruction and death. You must see that these two go together. It is a celebration in which you celebrate your own devastation. It is the celebration of a madman. Kabir says, "Jo ghar ja rahe aap na chale hamare saath." Only the one who is prepared to burn down his home can come with you. Kabir puts down a condition. He says, not all are qualified to walk with me. Only those who are prepared to set their house to fire will come with me. You know what house means. So it's a celebration that demands the highest price. It is not a cheap celebration. It is a party that demands the heaviest entry fee that you can give. A great celebration is going on. And the entry fee is that you chop off your head and deposit it right at the entrance. And then, headlessly, you can go in and dance. That great dance is only for those having no heads. All headless zombies. Easy to kill. It's a dance of death. A dance. Undeniably a dance. Nevertheless, a dance of death. Not an ordinary dance. And because it is a dance that exacts the highest price from you, hence it is a dance in which you reach the deepest ecstasies as well. You cannot enjoy or celebrate when you have given yourself fully to enjoyment or celebration. To give yourself fully to anything. Is to fully give yourself. Those who want joy should not be afraid of suffering. It is in the depths of suffering that you know what joy is. Do not equate joy with pleasure or happiness. Joy has nothing to do with our ordinary smiles. Remember the second day of this tour, we took the myth of the smile. So when I see people around me in turmoil, suffering, on one hand, it really affects me. I do not want to be a cause of suffering for anybody. But on the other hand, I also know that probably this is the only way. Kabir keeps on talking of the warrior who wins, rather who is not at all concerned about winning. Such a great winner he is, not at all concerned about winning. Who wins because he kills himself before the battle. And then having killed himself, he goes and fights. Now he cannot be killed. Now he fights without fear. You get the image? Does the metaphor speak to you? Kabir's warrior, and this warrior is fighting in the battlefield of life. The battlefield is life. Kabir's warrior makes sure that he does not carry the burden of living to the battlefield. So before the battle begins, he chops off his head, he kills himself. And being human beings that we all are, killing oneself is never fun. To be born is to be born with body identification. Whenever it comes to snapping those identifications, it hurts. It hurts even till your last day. I assure you, you may be a Buddha, you may be the greatest enlightened master, it still hurts. You have to find your way in the middle of that time. Joy lies in your capacity to take hurt. The more hurt you can take, it proves that you are still on top of the hurt. The moment you say, I cannot take any more, the moment you start blocking hurt, that is the moment when hurt has won. The reward of the one who is capable of taking wounds is that he gets more wounds. I once met a young girl and she had a crystal in her palm, and forcefully, almost violently, she was again and again banging it against the floor, throwing it at the walls. I asked her, why are you doing this? She said, because I have been told that it cannot be broken. When you are somebody who cannot be broken, your reward will be that you will receive more and more bangings against the floor and the wall. The whole existence will know that you are unbreakable. So you can take a little more of thrashing, pounding, beating. The more thrashing you are able to take, the more pounding you are receiving, the more it is certain that you are capable of taking it. Hence, the more it is certain that whatever the world is throwing at you does not really affect you, bother you. Ways of truth are mysterious, paradoxical, sometimes rather opposite to what we think, and sometimes not even opposite of what we think. If they are just opposite of what we think, it is still a mercy. The great bewilderment is when the truth is not we think, and truth is also not what we do not think. Then one is left in the middle of nothing. If you have an image of truth, God, or love, and what they will give you, and how it will feel to be liberated, very soon you will find that God is having a good joke at your expense. You thought that when you would get clarity, when you will be capable of freedom, then you will experience a certain delight. And it is the mind's habit to extrapolate. You may be trying for freedom. But what is freedom for the mind? A word, an idea, an image. moment you say you are aiming at freedom, you are aiming at some particular vision. I assure you, when freedom arrives, it will not correspond to that vision. In fact, you will be then left wondering why at all did you strive for freedom. You may even be left saying that you are better unfree than free. But freedom and love are gifts that cannot be returned once received. Now that you have it, keep it, bear it, tolerate it. That's just the right word. When you get God, you have to tolerate Him. You would fervently pray. You know what you pray. Go away. When He is not with you, all your prayers say, come here, Lord, Father, beloved, darling, come. And when He would come, you would find Him such a stranger that at least initially you would be wishing that He goes away. But He is sticky, obstinate. Having come, He does not return. Rather, you, having gone to Him, lose your capacity to retract your steps. There is ecstasy. There is ecstasy in spirituality. It is an intoxication. But it is like getting inebriated by drinking your own blood. That kind of intoxication. Remember Rumi that day? So pay the price. Pay the price. Live through the suffering. Cry a lot. And if possible, laugh a little. Truth loves you so much that He tolerates none of your accessories and makeups. He tears away all your masks, all your ornaments, all your garments. He strips you of everything that you are carrying and wearing. That hurts. But that's the naked love of the lover. He won't touch you if you are not pure. First of all, he sanctifies you. He prepares you so that he can enter you. And if you are not prepared to be prepared by him, he prepares you almost like one prepares a dish for consumption. If you are not prepared to be prepared by him, they will also not become a part of him. Have a great capacity to take suffering. Learn to live joyfully in the thick of suffering. And don't deny when it comes. Accept it. Don't turn your back on it because it anyway does not go away. You just become pretenders. There is no need to pretend. Great songs emerge from longing. Great actions happen when the mind is a fire. Suffering has a certain dignity about it that pleasure does not have. Tears are more likely to have a depth that laughter can never have. As a teacher, since many years now, I've been in deep touch with so many students, so many friends. Often I see them suffering on coming in contact with me, at least initially suffering. And it feels bad. You even feel like apologizing. It appears that everything was alright in a certain person's life. And then you touched, and yours was a touch of destruction. But I also know that you couldn't have come to me or stayed with me had you not wanted that description. I call everybody. Not everybody comes. Only those come whose time has come. So the changes that occur, the destabilization, that happens is something that was waiting to happen. I just probably only precipitated it. The common man does not suffer. The common man lives a life of blissful ignorance. You ask him how is he doing, he will say very common. A saint suffers. So when you suffer, just know that you have been chosen in some way. Remember what Jesus was saying yesterday? That if you receive sufferings and punishments, if you are revived, then do not forget that before you, I suffered from you and all the other prophets. The prophet suffers. The prophet suffers. The common man does not suffer. Now that does not mean that just by suffering you will become a prophet. I'm not suggesting a method to you. But what I'm saying is that liberation is not a fancy, pleasurable idea. To be liberated is to be liberated of yourself. You are not liberated of anything else. You are your own bondage. Liberation means hacking down the bondage, which means hacking yourself down. The chains that shackle you are you. When you cut down those chains, you are cutting yourself down. You Hmm? Isolation. form? Yes, if one has been accustomed to living in a crowd, in a theater, in a society, in a web of relationships, then one suffers when that web is cut down. We live amongst others. Our relationships have a certain quality. They are built on a certain foundation. That foundation is very good. That foundation is self-interest. When truth hits at that self-interest, then the foundation of all your relationships shakes. Not one, all your relationships. The whole world changes for you. So this web inside which you are living is no more. If you are habituated to living amongst others, then isolation hurts.
If you think that how you walk, are condemning religion. In a way, you touch religions and it makes me really happy. I understand. So, kind of, but now that you are thinking about something, I was thinking that maybe religion now really a good skill for suffering. When you think to Islam, maybe also Christian religion, this is really a kind of ball of suffering, because there is so much religious conditioning. They bring the masses, these masses, to non-spiritual issue. This is a lot of suffering.
Just as there are two kinds of religions, there are two kinds of sufferings as well. The first kind of religion is man-made religion, in which man decides what God is, man builds a God, and then builds a certain way towards that God. This is man-made religion. Define a God, define a way to God. First of all, define a God, then define a way to God. This is man-made religion. When man does this, then there is suffering involved in this. But this is a suffering that perpetuates itself. This is a suffering that does not converge to a point. This is a suffering that man calls as holy, that man seeks to continue with, preserve, even sanctify. This suffering leads to no liberation. In this suffering, there is no joy, there is just humiliation. In fact, even more than humiliation, there is deception. Because you would be suffering, yet not admitting that you are suffering. You would be calling your suffering by many other names. You would say your suffering is responsibility, or love, or duty, or religion, or obligation, or patriotism, or commitment. Right? There are many names that you can give to suffering. And those can be acceptable names. Then there is another religion. That religion is not man-made. It's a dynamic religion. It has no idea of God. This religion does not aim at an idea. This religion aims directly at peace, which is idealessness. As long as there is idea, there is mental activity, there is turmoil, and hence no peace. Real religion is to act in peace and act towards peace at every point. And this cannot be predefined. In this religion, you cannot be told in advance what to do, when to do, how to do. This religion is freedom. This religion is total surrender to peace and hence total freedom to act in whichever way that suits peace. Your only condition is now that you have peace. Everything else, in everything else, you have total freedom. How to have it, when to have it, what to do, what not to do, you know and you decide based on the situation. But there is one non-negotiable. There is only one thing that you cannot compromise on, which is that you must be acting from and aiming towards peace. This is real religion. In this real religion too there is suffering. But that suffering is the suffering of breaking of identifications, breaking of beliefs. If beliefs thicken, then there is suffering. Because the more beliefs thicken, the more your nature of intelligence is obfuscated. The more your nature is obfuscated, the more you suffer. So while there is suffering in the thickening of identities, amusingly, there is suffering even in the dissolution of identities. Because the entity that is suffering, the ego, is attached to identities. When identities drop, the ego suffers. I'm getting this. We are a bundle of identities. In the former type of religion, those identities thicken. Thickening of identities obviously is suffering. But that suffering is not called as suffering. That suffering is sometimes called as progress, sometimes called as evolution. Lot of names, nice names. And when those identities drop, then too you suffer. That is real religion. In real religion, there is real suffering. So suffer really. Suffer really.
You said that there are two types of suffering. One is for pleasure and one is for truth. Then what is peace in suffering? Always there is suffering. Then what is peace?
When you are suffering for the sake of truth, then it is a suffering that keeps converging. The more you move towards truth, the more your suffering converges. This convergence of suffering is peace. When your suffering is for the sake of pleasure, the suffering only keeps expanding, diverging. The more you try pleasure, the more you become habituated to pleasure, the more you end up suffering, the more you end up suffering, the more pleasure calls you. It's a
So you don't feel, you will not feel that the scientific way, and the country's contrast comes from India, saying that even the president is one to go.
Tantra is absolutely right in what it says. Tantra, the word Tantra itself means method. And Tantra is saying something very practical. Tantra says that whatever is happening in life is a method. what is it that our life is full of? Pain, pleasure, pursuit of pleasure, hope, disappointment, effort, success, failure. This is what our life is all about. Tantra says that in the middle of all this, be aware. In the middle of all this, be aware. It is inevitable that you will chase pleasure. What we call as the normal human being is a pleasure chaser. Everybody is a pleasure chaser. So Tantra says, when you are chasing pleasure, know exactly what is happening. Whether it is at the time of getting some food or getting sex. Know exactly what is happening. Tantra says no point condemning something, barring something, or suppressing something. Because you cannot suppress. It is impractical. It will show up in some other way. So when it happens, just know that it is happening. In the middle of the happening, wake up. Which is a very practical thing. In fact, that is exactly what I keep saying. Just the same. It is just that, in Tantra you have specific methods. I do not suggest any specific methods. I say everything is a method. But if you pick up a copy of the Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, it will say, pick up a ball and watch it without watching the boundary or the substance. And in that, there is pure awareness. Now, you don't always have a bowl. Like in this moment, instead of a bowl, you have a tumbler. So does that mean that your method will fail? What I say is that it doesn't matter whether you have a bowl or a tumbler. Be aware. Are you getting it? Vigyan Bhairav Tantra says, go to a deep well and watch it. What if a well is not available? Your method has failed. I say it doesn't matter whether there is a well or not. Whatsoever you are watching, watch it really. Otherwise, what will you do? Dig a well? No, that is one of the specific techniques mentioned in the Vigyan Bhairav. Go to a deep well and watch it. And that's a method of meditation. But where are wells these days in the metro cities? Show me the wells. Is it not practical then to be aware in whatever you are doing, whether it is a well or a canal or a tank or simply a glass of water?
Yesterday, meditation.
Life is meditation.
So, the process to be aware. Just keep awareness, very strong. What's happening?
Remain centered, remain peaceful. Simple. Simple.
Jesus could say that.
Yes, that is the mother of all methods.